Hello, welcome to Central Florida Salute YouTube. I'm Bob Peters. I'm your host, and I'm here at Eagles 4273. Thank them for their hospitality, and we do definitely thank AMVETS Post 2006 in Leesburg, Florida, for the support of our station. And speaking of which, on Memorial Day, which was yesterday, we had the honor of having Staff Sergeant Russ Currie with us. And today, he's here for Central Florida Salute. Welcome, Sarge.
Oh, well, thank you.
Good to see you. You did an outstanding job yesterday over at the AMVETS. We had probably the biggest crowd I've seen there ever for anybody. I don't know if you paid people or what you did, Russ, but...
It must have been my wife, but no, it was really my honor to be able to talk on behalf of all the fallen and really give eyes to some things that not everybody pays attention to at times when we are celebrating Memorial Day.
Yeah, I was impressed with your presentation, but in fact, we were doing this show, and I was going to do another show afterwards with your wife, who's also a military.
Yeah, military veteran. So one of the things for the people watching this show that I brought up in my discussion was the fact that, yes, I have heroes who I lost physically in combat. We had 12 guys that fought with me that didn't make it home. But we continually forget the heroes that still are fighting the war within. And we lose sight of that. And while I lost 12 in combat, I've lost 26 since we came back home, transitioning back to regular life. When you look at the suicide rates since 2001, an average of 6,000 veterans take their life a year. That's over 140,000 since 2001, enough to fill the Orlando Arena twice. And these are people who fought alongside of us so hard to come back home, so hard to make sure we all came back home. And then it's a battle that goes unrecognized, and these heroes get forgotten a lot because it is the war that takes them eventually. And a lot of the people who watch your program will know what we're talking about. It's not new to this generation, but these are the battles.
No, it's not. You know, and I heard you say that yesterday, and I was struck because I had just put something on my Facebook page the day before about, yes, we honor all those men and women who paid the ultimate price, but also let's not forget Agent Orange, suicide, and there's one other I mentioned. And then I showed a picture of a grave where my high school buddy and roommate, he succumbed to the Battle of the Bottle. There are casualties that aren't laying on the battlefield, but when they come home, and that's a good point, and that's what we're trying to tell people, to get involved and see what you can do to help out these people.
Yeah, and that number of 140,000, that's just strictly suicide. That doesn't count the deaths of despair, the overdoses, and things like that. The number goes exponentially higher when you're looking at things like your buddy with the bottle and things.
Yeah, but anyway, let's talk about Staff Sergeant Russ.
I actually made it to Sergeant First Class.
Oh.
So I was, the picture that we got from...
I got this picture right here.
Yep.
Does that look like him?
From Colonel Keith, many moons ago. But yeah, that picture from Colonel Keith is an old one. But the picture is what he posted when he did a special on my uncle, because I grew up in a Gold Star family.
We're going to talk about your uncle, and that's him right there. But first, people don't know where you grew up. Where are you from?
I grew up right here locally in Lake County. I grew up in Eustis, Florida. My family is, on my mother's side, is from Eustis, and that's kind of the tie-in with my uncle as well. Went to high school in Eustis. After high school and graduating high school, I went to Florida State University. From Florida State University, to pay off my student loans, I joined the Army. And then it became a career after September 11th.
Yeah, and I know you got into the old guard, but you also did a couple tours. You did 2 tours in Iraq and one in Baghdad and Saudi City, right?
Yep, Saudi City, yes, sir.
Well, that's quite an accomplishment.
Yeah. So with the old guard, a lot of viewers probably aren't going to be familiar with what they do. They're known as the ceremonial escort to the president. They're the Army version. They do the burials in Arlington. People would be familiar with the tomb marchers. I was not the tomb marcher. I was on the casket team. But they have the eclipse that goes on, the military show during the summertime at Washington, D.C. They're also very active in giving tours at the Pentagon and things like that for their secondary jobs. Really great honor, even before, because I joined the military before September 11th. And being up in D.C., I never realized the honor behind everything. In the military, the appreciation of the discipline it takes to keep a uniform going, especially in that place, really instilled a lot in me and helped me grow up and grow into a man that could be a father of 6 like I am, and really just helped me lay the groundwork for who I could become. It was the first time I made steps from being a boy to a man, and going through that regiment and just being able to pay such high levels of honor to the fallen, because while I was there, it was before, like I said, September 11th. So a lot of these guys and girls we were burying, they had fought decades prior, and so we didn't have the freshness of a war around us, but you could just see. And being able to say thank you in that way, I've never been able to say thanks like that ever. And so I'm very appreciative of that. Going into 3rd Infantry Division, 3rd ID, Rock of the Marne, and what we did, I was part of 464 Tuskers and went into Baghdad the first time, really secured that and just kind of kept everything safe in that area. And then Sadr City was where it really cooked off for us. A lot of action and activity. It was a hick environment, high intensity combat environment. So.
Yeah. There's well, you talked yesterday about your involvement with the military, and there was an uncle that you talk about.
Yeah.
Tell our viewers about this uncle.
So my uncle Jerry Lee Patrick, he grew up in Eustis as well, was a hero of the football team back in the 60s. When he was graduating, like I told yesterday, he was graduating at a time where it was very hot and active as far as military. You're talking about the beginning of the Vietnam days and really seeing everything kick off. His dream and goal was always to be a soldier. And it didn't get deterred by the fact that the country was going into a war and everything was starting to tear apart. And he made, they have a class night. And this is where the seniors of that graduating class get together and put on shows and things like and skits to entertain the community. It's part of their going away and part of their celebration with each other going out. Well, my uncle came out dressed in a uniform that my grandmother put together. It wasn't his uniform or anything, and he sang the Ballad of the Green Beret. And I guess a lot of people were really shocked, especially my mom, because she would tell me that he wouldn't even sing in church. And here he is up there, and he belted it out. And that, to this day, that's the thing that every one of his classmates who sees me, every one of my mom's classmates who sees me, they always talk about him singing the Ballad of the Green Beret. And he meant so much in following through with that. And going through and being that service member, he was killed in action. And then in 1969, he was in for a year. In 1969, they made the Jerry Lee Patrick Memorial Trophy, which is a football trophy passed out at Eustis High School in his honor. And lucky enough, honored enough, my mother awarded it to me. So, in 1993 when I graduated. So, it meant a lot to the family, and it meant a lot to the community watching this go on. And somebody still secretly lays flowers at his grave. He's buried out off 19 in the cemetery there towards Umatilla. And I mean, good friends, good memories, really tight community back then. We were a lot smaller even when I was in school here, but a lot of stuff that really goes through the military, through Lake County, that it really big honor for all of us to see what our brothers and sisters have done. And my uncle was really a face of it.
Yeah, I share similar, but not my uncle. Was awarded a Distinguished Cross for heroism on the beaches of D-Day.
Wow.
Yeah, he took out a machine gun. He got wounded in the leg, and he was on his way to take out a pillbox. Flak hit him in the eye. He laid on the beach. That was it for him, but he was with the 100th out of Connecticut, and then they put him in the Big Red One the day of the invasion.
All right.
You know, so, and
they're out of Riley now in Kansas.
yeah, I have several uncles who served in World War II and a couple in Korea. And if you come from a family like you did, where you had an uncle like I had uncles, you get a more of a bond. But for people who have never been in the military, or none of their parents have ever been in the military, they have a little hard time explaining the connection and the bond we have with one another, you know, as far as being in the military family.
Oh, yeah. When you think about it, I had two grandfathers who both fought in World War II. My uncles, Vietnam in different branches. My father was in the Coast Guard. It's really just something we've always been raised, that service to people first, service to your community. You're going to do something to give back. And just, I hope that's why my kids are doing what they're doing, is they're leaving as well. So it's carrying it on through the generations.
Speaking of your kids, you have, tell us about your kids. You got a daughter.
Yes, I have 6 kids. My daughter is 25. She served in the Air Force for 6 years, went straight after high school. My son, my oldest son, is a senior at Michigan State University. He's in their Army ROTC program, so he's going into the Army after this. And then I've got 4 more coming up that range from 15 all the way down to 9. Keeping me busy.
Yeah, you're a busy man, all right. You're a busy man, all right. And I don't and I mentioned the fact too. You talk about your uncles and stuff. Your wife also is.
My wife also served. Yes, she was the first from her family to serve. She was she had an uncle who had married into the family who was in the Army, and was really impressed with how her aunt was able to change the trajectory of her life, coming from the family and everything, and really watching that, her aunt and her uncle as husband and wife, and the kids they had and the life they lived. She always knew she wanted something like that. And she was actually talking with her uncle after September 11th took place, and she was like, I wish I could do something, but women can't be in the military. And he was like, what?
Really?
He was back in Lake County. I believe he was back here because he was in his recruiter stint. And he was like, oh, no, heck no, you could get into the military. But he talked her into it, be it a barbecue or be it him sitting there. And he talked to her and told her everything she had to do. And she signed up immediately and was really thankful to go in. She stayed in until she was pregnant with our 3rd child. She has done a tour in Afghanistan. And when she was pregnant with our third child, we realized that we couldn't keep going with the deployment rate. And so one of us would have to get out. I was 1 rank higher, and at the time. She got out and then stayed and managed the FRGs. She got recognized in Germany for the work she did with the FRG, the Family Readiness Groups.
I'm going to cut you off right there.
Okay.
Because I want that lady on our show.
Oh, yeah.
And I want her to tell the story of where she was and what she did. I did have the pleasure of meeting her and one of your kids yesterday at Memorial Day ceremony.
And what she continues to do for the service members. And so it's a very impressive story on how she rededicated her life to help.
And keep watching Central Florida Salute. We'll have her on.
Oh, yes.
Yes. But you did, I want to ask you about You were in the Old Guard, which is a ceremonial for the burials in Arlington and the services and all that, right? Were you in that to begin with, and then you were deployed, or were you deployed and then later on went into?
So my first duty station was the Old Guard, and because I went in September of '99. And I was actually out doing a burial. We had done a mock-up on September 11th. We go out, scout the area. We plan on how to be less seen. We don't speak, we don't talk. We're the silent professionals. And I was a honcho, or the leader of the casket team. So I went out with the command team to kind of view where we were going to do the service, where the best place to go in is, how we were going to do everything. So we were out in the cemetery before the service ever arrived, well before. We knew nothing about New York. And we were right there on the side that shares with 50. We came in, then the rest of the team got down there, and we did the service. And after folding the flag, we passed the flag off and marching with the element. You could hear it, but you didn't really know what it was. And then our first sergeant,
Pentagon.
Yeah. And first sergeant screamed to get on the bus. We all got on the bus, and we were heading up, and we're flying, and you just see all our medals dangling everywhere because the bus is getting us up there fast. We always had to have stuff on standby for riot control in DC, and they had us immediately change into battle dress from our dress blues, and then wait in a muster formation before they could figure out what the next step was. Because like I said, even our command didn't know about New York at the time. Then while we were waiting, you heard another loud boom, and we thought we got hit again, but it was actually the jets getting dispatched to Pennsylvania. Then our command team came out and explained what's going on in New York. We got to make one phone call and say, I love you, I'll get in touch with you, I'm all right. And then we waited for our next dispatch, and that was Operation Noble Eagle. We went down and we started clearing out ground zero at the Pentagon and trying to recover whatever we could recover as far as personnel or intel.
Wow. Yeah, I have a good friend of mine. He's Reverend Gary Cato, who was at Ground Zero, and he wrote a book, 10 Days of Hell and Heroes.
It's crazy because the 10 days, we're going nonstop, and you don't even realize it because you don't want to quit, and you just keep going and going and going. And I learned something about the dogs, because we had dogs as well, that dogs will work until they die. They won't stop. And so you're actually in that mentality and you don't realize it. And we finally got relieved, and 10 of us went out to TGI Fridays, and we all sat down to eat, and we ordered. And one of the guys had an apartment off base. The rest of us all lived in base housing. And before the food got there, before even the appetizers got there, we all passed out. Just exhausted, fell asleep. And this lady came up, and the waitress tapped me on the shoulder. And I look around, I'm like, can you just put it to go? And then we all went back to the one guy's apartment, and it's a 1-bedroom apartment, 10 guys just camped out on the floor with to-go food from TGI Fridays, passed out. But I just remember how much really changed then too, just for me, the country, and just everything, just the feel.
Yeah, anybody who's been alive and grown up somewhat when September 11 happened will always remember something, you know. I mean, I've written a poem about September 11th because I got stuck in California. I was at a convention, and the first day was great, you know. They sing, that singer that sings God Bless the USA.
Yeah, Lee Greenwood.
Lee Greenwood sang it live. The next day I got up to put my suit on to go to the convention, and I turned the TV on. In California, you got Japanese, Chinese stations. I thought it was a movie. And then I flipped over to no, it was real, you know, and I got stuck out there for 4 days. And my wife is calling me, and the kids are calling me. They're worried, you know. It's just like, it changes you.
Yeah.
It changes people. And of course,
It changed everyone, because before that event, I would say we were treated a lot differently by the folks in Georgetown and things like that prior to that event. I mean, we caused our own little bits of trouble as a bunch of wayward boys in the military and stuff on Friday nights and Saturday. But when we left to go down to the Pentagon and we didn't know what we were going to see, people pulled off the side of the road. We were in the back of LMTVs. That was weird as anything too, driving through downtown Washington, D.C. in military vehicles. But people were pulling off the side of the road, giving us thumbs up, clapping. And you're just like, man, you know, it was weird, because it's the first time, even as a service member, I truly felt appreciated outside of my family in the military and things like that.
I'd like you to meet Reverend Cato. I'm going to try to put the two of you together. You talked about the dogs, and that's very true. That was happening. They were bleeding out. Some lady, he talks about it in the book, knitted little booties to put on the dogs, and then they heard about it. Some guy retooled his manufacturing to make like leather boots to put on the dogs. There's a lot to what happened that people don't know.
Yeah.
You know, unless you talk to somebody like you or Reverend Cato. But anyway, you did 17 and a half years, and you got medically discharged because of a hearing problem, right?
Hearing, back, knees, the works, everything started falling apart.
Wait till you get to be my age, brother.
Whew.
Yeah. So I was looking at your, over here I have a computer.
Yeah.
But your awards, you're highly decorated with Bronze Star and Meritorious Service Medal, Army Commendation Medal 2 times, Army Achievement Medal 8 times?
Yes, sir.
Unit Awards, Good Conduct Medals, National Defense Global War on Terror Medal, Iraqi Campaign with Campaign Star, Presidential Volunteer Service Ribbon, German Proficiency Badge. What was that one about?
So German Proficiency Badge, you have marksmanship on multiple weapons. And then in addition to that, you have multiple field exercises like you would see in kind of like the Olympics. So there's a long jump, there's a shot put, things like that. And you go through, and after you master each technique, you get the German Proficiency Badge, which is like their version, I guess, of like the French Fortege and things like that you can go and earn throughout the military. But it's got to be a German, I want to say it's got to be a German badge holder, German Proficiency Badge holder that has everybody go out for it. And it's really interesting, because you see how different militaries value other things that we don't necessarily look at, you know, push-ups, sit-ups, run, but then they have these other events that we go out and do.
You also got the Presidential Service Award, Civilian Award.
So yes, sir. Once I failed my hearing test with 3rd Infantry Division after my second deployment, I got sent to Lawrenceville Regional Medical Center to provide leadership for our wounded warriors who are either in transit back home or getting fixed up to get back into the fight. And so I would be their leadership while they're on the ground. And the whole time behind the scenes, they're like, well, I don't know what we're going to do with your hearing because it's not going to come back. But I was blessed to have that opportunity. One, just to be able to be involved with these men and women as they're coming back and just be part of helping them get back into the fight or helping them get home to their loved ones where they need to heal. And then the other thing was it gave me an opportunity to work on developing me and who I was as a person. So we talked about service and community and how that was a foundation in my upbringing. Well, now that I'm not deploying, and all my patients all my soldiers, airmen, everybody was patients. They're not really going anywhere. I had a lot of opportunity to give back locally and I did a lot of service projects. So with all my volunteer hours, I got put in by my leadership for the Presidential Service Medal, and I was awarded that. I also received the Presidential Volunteer Service Award from President Obama in 2010 for all the work that I did with the youth and with the community as far as volunteer work.
Well, that's great. Do you do any more now?
Yes, I actually coach high school football for Eustis High School.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Carrying on a tradition.
Yeah.
There, huh?
So.
Yeah. Well, that's great, because I truly believe, God put us on this planet to make a difference.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, not about making money. It's about taking care of your brother and your sister, whatever, your fellow man, as they say.
We're all in this together.
That's right. So tell me a little bit about you were ground troop in Iraq?
Yes.
How long were you there?
I was there, the first time I was there around a year. The second time was about a year and a half.
That's a lot.
Yeah. I was in the infantry both times. When we went the first time, we were light. The second time we went with Bradleys, which are mechanized. So for people who aren't quite familiar, picture a tank big enough to hold what supposedly is a squad, but more like a fire team, and even then it's tight, especially when you got big old guys like me, but in the back. And so it's a transport vehicle, but it's also got big firepower. And it's armored, which helped us out a lot in Iraq. That's one thing that 3rd ID and Big Red 1. One thing you have when you have a Bradley is an armored personnel carrier that can really lay down some suppressive fire. You got a 25 millimeter cannon on that bad boy. So those were always nice to see. But what was really cool about the way the military had gone at that point, at least with 3rd Infantry Division, I believe it was across the board, was that it was combined arms battalions, so CABs and brigade combat teams. So in the past, you would have like a company of tanks, you would have, a tank battalion, and then infantry battalion. Well, what they did was they broke these units down and combined us all together. So when we went over as a battalion, we had a couple companies of tanks, a couple company of infantry, you had engineers, and everything was all self-supportive on this battalion level. And it was really awesome at work, because a lot of my brothers in the tanks, right, when we get in there, man, I love the Abrams. Love those guys. They are crazier than you'd ever believe. But at the same time, if they get hit, their ability to exfil is minimal, because you got a small crew, you got this huge vehicle, so that's where the infantry is able to come in. So while they protect us with their firepower, we're able to help them in their recovery and giving them localized protection. And so it really worked out well, especially in Slaughter City. We went in to link up with 10th Mountain had been in there. We went in and they didn't have the armor we had. And we went in, walled off Slaughter City, and put a big concrete wall all the way around the city, and then contained the city and went in and fought inside the city. And so it took a long time to wall it off. But I want to say, initially we were told it was going to be a 72-hour operation or something like that, because all we left with, and all we were told by our local command to leave with, was our salt bags. And then we wound up there for 3 months, March through June. So it was a long haul, a long fight, but really interesting.
Yeah. I have a friend of mine up in Connecticut whose son was in the Army, and he was in Saddam Hussein's palace, and he got his picture taken in there.
We've been in a couple of his palaces, so he had quite a few. A couple they turned into actual FOBs or bases, localized bases for the military. And we went to one called Prosperity that I guess had pools of dolphins at one point. And then they wound up painting the patch of whatever Army unit took over the palace at that time during that tour. They'd paint their crest at the bottom of the pool.
Really? And this guy... I was living in a small town in Oxford, Connecticut, and he went to we only had an 8th grade at the time as far as it went. Then you had to go to different towns to go to high school. And anyway, and he came home. I went to the 8th grade class because his picture was on the front page of the daily newspaper in New York. I don't know what they call it, Daily News or whatever it is, getting a kiss on the cheek by a young boy. And so I blew that up, and I had all the kids in the 8th grade sign it. And we gave him a nice welcome home party.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. But he was pretty well decorated too. But yeah, I give you a lot of credit, for what you've done. And I really was impressed yesterday because when I heard you speak, it's like the same thing in the back of my head about making a difference and taking care of our military. But yeah. So what are you doing now besides coaching football? When you got out of the service,
when I got out of the service, my first, I guess, real person job.
Back in the real world?
Yeah, back in the real world. I went, got a job with the Home Depot, working their distribution center. They had one that was kind of going astray, and they actually brought in a bunch of military guys. I worked with a lieutenant, and then I worked with, I know he was an officer, but I don't know his rank out of the Navy. And we were the night crew trying to help with get everything structured and go in there and turn that place around. A lot of wear and tear, and I was done with nights. And so at that point, I quit that job and then got offered a job with Hebrew National Hot Dogs up in Michigan. And so we moved up to Michigan, and loved that place, that job, that product. I'll speak to it to this day.
You love the hot dogs?
Oh, man, yes. The real deal there. But really great people, really great product, everything I could stand by. I was there for about 4.5 years, but the drive was about an hour one way. And then me being a Florida boy driving in a blizzard, I lost. Well, that, and I didn't really know how big Michigan deer were until I took out my first one and totaled a car on that. Then I lost control of another car in a blizzard trying to get down there. It just started wearing on me, and they had a change in leadership, and I just thought it was time for me at that time. And then once that happened, I literally just went and my wife, who you'll be talking to, I looked at her. She had just gotten her job as a therapist, and I was like, I think we're good if I'm just dad for a while. I'll live off what the Army's giving me, what you're making.
And you go to work.
Yeah. She's like,
oh, you're my kind of man.
She's like, hey, do you think I can still get my hair and nails done? I was like, sure. So I wrote her out a budget to show her she could. She's like, fine, quit. So I did, and I was dad for a while. And then it was a buddy from childhood. I loved his family and still do. And really, I hadn't talked to him in probably 25 years. And he was just like, hey, I've taken over from my dad, and I'm looking to expand the company, Data Graphics Incorporated. And he goes, would you be interested in moving home? I was like, heck yeah. And so I flew down to take a look at the operation, and we're walking through, and man, I fell in love right off the bat. I got to be honest, the first thing that got me was I saw, I don't know if I can say the exact part, but some part to the Blue Force tracker, which is in the vehicles now to take us. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I know what that is. And I start looking around, and I'm looking at all the different labels and signs and everything and equipment that they're putting out. And I'm like, man, I swear I saw that in a Bradley. Oh, and so it was so cool for me to get back to the military.
Yeah.
Because I never wanted to leave the military.
Yeah.
And then eventually we all have to, right? It's like I tell my kid, I was like, even Peyton Manning and Tom Brady don't play football anymore, So eventually, even when we find our dreams, I didn't know military was my dream, but it became my dream. And it just comes time, and it was my time. And so being able to give back and do contracting work for defense contractors is really awesome. So that grabbed me. But then even twofold, the people and the team there are amazing. And so it's really a great work environment, and it gets me as close to the military as I can be now.
Well, that's good. I mean, I'm glad. But I'm really glad that you joined AMVETS post 2006, you and your wife. Because you know what? I'm a little older than you. So don't push it. I'm a little older than you, and I see a lot of the people your age and younger don't necessarily go and get involved with the Legions or a VFW or an AMVETS, and that we need to. You know, the younger generation, your generation has got to be part of it.
We need to, and not just to keep these organizations afloat, but if you want to look at it selfishly instead of selflessly, these are the organizations that were put together to keep people from seeing the problems we talked about. When we opened the show, we talked about all these suicides. Today, everybody looks, and my generation looks at Facebook and things like that, fine, whatever, but that's not the same. It's not the same as just coming together and just healing together. And we're all wounded, and we're wounded for life. And we just got to recognize that. And that's not a bad thing if we can come together. And it's much easier for me to grow on this healing process amongst people who have the same experiences, and sitting there with people who have at least the same idea and values that we have, right? Regardless of what branch you're in, there's some value of selfless service tied to that.
And you know what? And we get to be a team.
Yes.
And as a team, we can make a difference in other people's lives.
Yes.
So,
and that's what I'm saying.
That's a word out to you younger veterans. Come on and join us.
Yes. Join something. Join anywhere you can. You know, we got AMVETS 2006, but anything local to you, if you're seeing this show, find it. Go be part of the Legion. Go be part of the AMVETS. Go be part of VFW. Find it. Get in there. Start breaking bread with people who will remind you and know you. They know you as well as you know you, and it's really important to do that.
Yeah, you know, and I find that too. I had a friend of mine who's he's with the Lord now. He was a trustee here. He was with the AMVETS, and you sit down and you don't have to have a beer. You can have a soda or whatever.
Yeah.
Or just get involved, and you find out this guy was a tunnel rat. This guy did this. This guy, or that woman did that. You know, and you say, wow, you know it. This place really is doing something and putting people together and making a difference. And that's what we got to do. And I think we got to make a difference now and say goodbye.
Oh, okay.
Russ, it's been a real honor meeting you, and I'm looking forward to seeing you around.
Oh, definitely. The honor was all mine.
Plays, maybe I'll come down.
Yeah, come on down there. We'll get you in blue and gold. But no, it's really great to be able to talk with you, talk with everybody, and really have this opportunity. I'm the one that's honored for and thankful for everything you've given me. So appreciate it.
Well, we're going to say goodbye, and I think you saw how we did it, right?
No, I went here for it.
Well, you're going to look at that camera right there, the one in the middle, where that lovely young lady is going to be standing. And we're going to make a salute, and this is how we do it. To all our veterans out there, our active military and their families, we salute you for all you do. Till next time. That's it, brother.
All right.
Today I'm at AMVETS Post 2006, a major sponsor of Central Florida Salute, and I want to introduce to you the commander here, Ronnie Mack. Ronnie, tell us a little bit about AMVETS 2006. Where are you located? And
we are at 500 North Canal Street, Leesburg, Florida. It's right off of 441, between 441 and Main Street on Canal. Can't miss us. And we're a veterans organization, along with, we have an auxiliary, and we have sons of veterans that are related some form or another to a veteran. And we do a lot for a lot of charitable donations and stuff to charities in the area and in the county. And we're a major sponsor to Central Florida Salute. We're proud of it. We're glad to be. You guys do a heck of a job, and we'll sponsor you as long as I'm here. We're going to sponsor you. So.
Well, I'll tell you what, we do. Sue and I really appreciate it. We're a two-person operation, and what we try to do with education and supporting our veterans community, and you supporting us is major thing. It's major.
We're glad to do it, Bob. We're glad to do it.
And you have sons here, you have auxiliary here. You've got a website too if somebody wants to join.
Yep. It's don't punch into www. It's ambets-2006.org, and it'll take you right to our website, Facebook page, and all that's there, and you'll be able to find that. The webmaster, he tries to get the calendar on there every month, anything pertinent. There's a lot of other links on there for veterans to find out where to get help for certain claims and stuff like that. Our webmaster's really into that stuff. That's the guy you ought to be interviewing right there. So,
well, you know what,
he's got
Ronnie?
a lot of stuff.
You have a lot of clout. You tell him to talk to me, and we'll get him on the show. Okay?
I can do that.
All right. But I just want to, on behalf of Sue and myself, we want to thank AMVETS 2006 because you guys are the major players behind us, and we appreciate it.
But we just wish we could do more. We really do.
Thank you.
Thank you. You guys are awesome.